All Elite Wrestling sells out in 15 minutes, while Stomping Grounds still has not sold out with a week away. Plus, CM Punk talks about All Elite Wrestling, and we have the participants for the G1 Climax in 2019. It's all coming up next on the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Hello and welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. This is Ralph Valenti. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's All Out, which we already mentioned has sold out in less than 15 minutes. Sears Centre, Chicago, Illinois, happening on August 31st, while WWE Stomping Grounds is a week away, and they have not sold out their show there.
Right.
So is this a big win for All Elite Wrestling and a huge loss for WWE?
Yeah, I mean, I think that with what All Elite Wrestling has been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time, it definitely has to have Vince and the higher-ups a little bit nervous. I mean, because when you look at, All In obviously was not All Elite Wrestling, but it was a good majority of the people that are involved in All Elite Wrestling. So we know that sold out. And then Double or Nothing, that was a strong reception. That sold out. And now you have really another third event, and they're able to sell this out again. And it just speaks to what they've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. So, yeah, I don't think that should be understated, and it definitely shouldn't be underestimated if you're somebody within the WWE right now.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be alarming for WWE. Obviously not selling Stomping Grounds in, we still have a week away and their tickets are still not sold.
Yeah.
But then again, it is a B-level pay-per-view. It was kind of thrown together sort of last minute, so I can understand why the tickets haven't sold. But then again, All Elite Wrestling, Fight for the Fallen, their tickets still available there. Fyter Fest still has tickets available. The G1 show in Dallas still has tickets available.
Right.
So I don't necessarily call this a loss for WWE just yet. I mean, if we come to that Sunday of and there's plenty of tickets still available, that's obviously something to be heavily concerned about. Even NXT TakeOver 25, which we were at, was not a sellout.
Right.
I mean, sure, there were a lot of people there, but you could see, obviously, the camera didn't quite pick it up because of the darkness of the room, but there were tickets still available.
Yeah.
The night of TakeOver 25. But this is definitely something impressive for All Elite Wrestling, being able to sell this out in 15 minutes. However, there is this dark cloud over what was achieved. And that is, it seems like a lot of scalpers took advantage of this.
Yes.
And they bought the tickets at a very low price, which AEW is definitely saying that they want to do. But they're also putting them up on StubHub for 2, 3, 4, even 6 times the amount of face value, which here in America, that is legal, unfortunately. There's really no way to stop that unless AEW goes and says, you know what, we're going to take those tickets away because we know that you're scalping. But how do you prove that?
Right.
It's very hard to prove that, especially with the world of the internet. Also, at the same time, you have Lyft, which is going to be the official resale ticket provider. So you could go there, and I'm sure the tickets won't be as expensive. Is that something to be concerned if you're AEW, seeing tickets being resold at that high of a price?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You definitely don't want to do a disservice to the fans, and it's not anything that, AEW did intentionally. It's unfortunate. I think I went on StubHub this morning just because I was interested, because I saw some of the prices that were being reported, and I think the most that one was listed for was roughly $1,000, but in comparison to what people could actually have purchased these for, it sucks. It sucks if you're a fan. But the other thing to take out of this was, granted, there were a lot of people who were able to buy these tickets just to resell them, but the amount of people who were estimated to be in the queue actually trying to purchase tickets, they reported it as almost 137,000 people.
That's more than what WrestleMania held this year. That's more than whatever WrestleMania ever had.
Yeah, and not only that, but when you put your mind around that amount of people looking for tickets to a wrestling event, and not just a wrestling event, but when Dave Meltzer was talking about this, he said it could have been one of the biggest events ever, even in comparison to something similar like UFC or something of that category. So there is definitely a buzz in the air, which you can feel with All Elite Wrestling, and even other promotions outside of All Elite Wrestling, like, I guess New Japan Pro Wrestling, some of that you get some of the back and forth, like Moxley working
Right.
there. It feels special. It feels fresh. It's something that people are certainly excited about. And when you look at what WWE is right now in the current state of it, whether it's people asking to be released or asking, to move back down to NXT, it does feel like there's a dark cloud looming over WWE because the product just doesn't feel fresh and they don't give you a reason to watch week after week. So, whatever All Elite Wrestling is doing and has been doing, and obviously they've only put on one show to this point, but obviously they're doing something right and they're keeping people interested. So it'd be interesting to see how all of that happens and how that changes once they start to get to TV. But solid numbers. They were able to sell out in 15 minutes, and there's a lot of people that are certainly interested in this program.
Now, obviously, there is interest. Obviously, that number is very high, 137,000 according to Meltzer. But I think that is a little exaggerated, that number, because I was seeing on social media, there were people that were taking pictures of themselves in the queue with like 5 devices. They would have their laptop, their TV, their computer, their cell phone or tablet. So, and they were, making sure they had those tickets by doing that. And plus you have people that are buying in groups. So like if you and I were buying tickets, obviously you wouldn't buy a pair and I wouldn't buy a pair if we were both going. So, while 137,000 is definitely a great number, I think the realistic number, I would say, let's say the average person in the queue really had 4 devices on there. So if you divide that by 4, it's really like, let's see, probably like 40,000, maybe, if I'm doing my math right. 30,000, something like that. But that's still a lot.
No, they were predicting roughly 50 to 60,000 people were going to be interested. So no matter how many devices you were using, even if you want to say, okay, if it was 80,000, the number and the amount of people interested, and even it speaks to the lengths people will go to try and get their hands on tickets to these events. It definitely feels like there's some type of movement, and there's a lot that's getting behind All Elite Wrestling. And I really do hope that this carries over to when they get to TV, because I think the best thing for WWE right now is they definitely need some type of competition. They need to change. And if All Elite Wrestling could be the driving force that gets some type of change in WWE, I'm all for that, because their product has not been very good as of late.
Now, with All Out, we have 2 matches that are announced for this. Obviously, the AEW Championship between Hangman Page and Chris Jericho, and the other one that was announced the day before tickets went on sale, and that's Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. Now, on our community page on our YouTube channel, we put the post up and a poll. Which match are you more interested in? Which one are you more excited for? And it was about 75% saying that the Moxley versus Omega match is the one that you're more excited for. Should that be the main event?
I don't think it should be the main event. I think the main event should always be the championship match, unless you're an established star like The Undertaker. Like if The Undertaker has the main event at WrestleMania because it's going back before the streak had ended, I think that's a reason to have, anything other than a championship match main event, something like that. Reason I say that is especially for AEW right now, they're a new company. And they really, one of the things they talked about was establishing their championship as being the most credible championship, something along those lines, in all of wrestling. And I think that in order to do that, that should really be the main event, because that should be the focal point of the show. Not only that, but obviously Chris Jericho, he's a big name. He's been around the wrestling industry for a very long time. So you probably should have somebody like that with those credentials be at least in the main event, to kind of be the focal point and the driving force behind that. So I'm definitely excited for both matches, but in my opinion, I would think that the championship match should main event.
I mean, in my opinion, I would agree with you 9 times out of 10 where the championship should be the main event, but the main event is the match that people buy tickets to see. I think more people going into this show, buying tickets, would want to see Moxley and Omega over Hangman and Jericho. And obviously our poll is supporting that claim. So I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being the main event. However, with this being the match that crowns the first AEW champion, it should be the main event. If you don't make it the main event, you basically are saying that this title is prestige is already lower than it should be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think, Tony Khan saying that they want their titles to be prestigious. This has to be the main event.
Yes.
So, but speaking of Jon Moxley, he will be, in fact, part of the G1 Climax tournament, which starts July 6th in Dallas, Texas. They announced all the participants today. In the A block for this, we have Kazuchika Okada, the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Zack Sabre Jr., Kota Ibushi, who I thought may have missed this because of an eye injury that he sustained during Dominion, where he said that he may have suffered vision loss from that apron spot against Tetsuya Naito. You have Evil Sonata, Bad Luck Fale, Lance Archer, Will Ospreay, and Kenta. Ospreay and Kenta making their first appearances in the G1 tournament. And then in the B block, which Jon Moxley's in, he will be facing Tetsuya Naito, Tomohiro Ishii, Juice Robinson again, Toru Yano, Hiroki Goto, Switchblade Jay White, Jeff Cobb, Shingo Takagi, and Tai Chi. A lot of big names in this tournament.
Definitely.
Obviously, the G1 is a huge tournament for New Japan Pro Wrestling. The winner, in fact, goes on to face the IWGP Heavyweight Champion to main event Wrestle Kingdom, unless Okada does win this thing, which I'm not sure exactly what happens if the champion wins the tournament.
Yeah.
If anybody knows, let us know in the comments below. Honestly, it's never happened, so I don't know what the outcome would be for that. But you think about this B block that Moxley's in. There are so many great matches that you can see in this.
Yep.
Naito, Ishii, Robinson, and they already had a great match already. Goto, Switchblade. Everybody loves Jeff Cobb. Everybody loves Shingo Takagi. Right there.
I'm so excited to see, because Juice Robinson's match with Moxley. So that, to me, that probably brought out the best in Juice Robinson.
Yes.
So there are certainly levels to any type of physical competition. Whether you talk about football, there's obviously levels between how good somebody really is. So Moxley, obviously, having been in WWE and having been in the industry for a very long time, he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I am very interested to see some of these guys in the ring with Moxley, to see, who's at that level, who's able to step up to that level of competition, because there's a lot of young talented guys, and there's some very experienced guys. So there's a lot of interesting matches. The one with Jay White, that's certainly something that is going to be interesting. But I mean, you look at the list of people, like you just said, a lot of credibility, a lot of guys that have been there for a very long time.
Now, one guy that was left out of the G1 Climax, a lot of people wish he was in it, especially because with Moxley being in it, is Minoru Suzuki. I know a lot of people wish to see Suzuki versus Moxley in this G1. They're not going to get that, unfortunately. But the match that I think would be the best matchup for him in this block is Tomohiro Ishii. This guy is, he's a stone pit bull. He's as stiff as anybody in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think that one is just going to be a hard-hitting matchup, and I'm very excited for that. And, of course, you got Tetsuya Naito that's also in this block, probably the favorite to win this block, maybe even win the whole tournament.
Yep.
I'd love to see what happens with that. And, of course, Switchblade Jay White, if he pulls off a victory against Moxley, that puts him right back into the picture of winning the tournament, and in fact getting involved in the IWGP championship match. So let us know in the comments who your favorite is to win the G1 Climax from either A block or B block. Make whatever predictions you have. Once we get closer to July 6th, we'll do a full-on G1 Climax preview. So be excited for that. And of course, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so that you know when that preview happens. But of course, let's talk about the last bit of news that we're going to talk about for this episode, and that is CM Punk again going to social media and creating news. Last Wednesday was the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, in which the Boston Bruins lost to the St. Louis Blues, and CM Punk, for those that follow him on social media, knows he's a huge hockey fan.
Yes.
So he
Always has
tweets
been.
out, "Is it October yet?" And of course, everybody that doesn't know he's a hockey fan says,
The internet has melted.
"Oh my God, he's going to AEW. It's confirmed." Because that's when TV starts for AEW in October. But then later on that day, someone tweets him and asks him, "Are you going to disappoint many AEW fans and not show up for All Out?" He retweets it with a one-word answer: yes.
Yep.
So basically confirming he is not going to be at least at All Out and not be in All Elite Wrestling. However, Cody Rhodes had something to say about this, Ralph. What exactly did he say about this?
So he did talk a little bit about this. They did ask him, obviously. He said, you know, the door is always open. He did make the point that he's already brought on 25 to 35 new stars, guys like Jungle Boy, guys like MJF, ladies like Kylie Ray, Britt Baker. If I was to spend all my time in trying to recruit just one CM Punk, I would be doing a disservice to them. So he didn't say no, but it certainly seems like no offer has been officially made to CM Punk.
It's an interesting comment, though.
It is.
Disservice.
Yeah, and I understand where he's coming from with that, because one of the things they have been so adamant about with AEW is that they're going to recruit good young talent, and that's going to be the core of the company. And I understand where he's coming from, because if he was to put all his time and effort into trying to get CM Punk to come to the AEW, he wouldn't necessarily be able to pay attention to the development of those younger stars.
Right.
So I agree with it in that sense. The place where I would disagree is, you know, having one of those young stars in a match with the CM Punk, somebody of that caliber,
Right.
notoriety.
Right.
You know, the same thing that is going to happen for Adam Hangman Page when he steps in the ring with a guy like Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
It adds credibility to those individuals, and that's something that if you go and listen to the interview that Sean Spears did,
Right.
he talks
with Chris
about
Van Vliet.
some of the issues within WWE. He says they lack credibility because, you know, you have these guys, you don't make them feel special, nobody can get behind them. And it's just two guys having a match, which is what we've talked about in the past before. So, you know, that's obviously going to be the difference between AEW and WWE. But so I agree with him in a sense, and I also disagree with him too.
The whole disservice comment is, like I said, it's a surprising comment to come from Cody, because I think obviously the goal of All Elite Wrestling is to get these unknown independent stars into the mainstream. Guys like Darby Allin, guys like MJF, guys like Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. But you got to have a reason for a casual fan to watch All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yes, it's easy for wrestling fans to watch All Elite Wrestling because they're already invested. You got to get those second degree fans and those third degree fans that, you know, they got us. They got us hooked. No issue. But how do we tell our friends to watch?
Yeah.
Oh, CM Punk is going to be on. Really? So CM Punk comes in, and like you said, whoever's in the ring with him obviously gets a rub, win or lose.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a great match that, you know, we know CM Punk can have good matches.
Yeah.
So if he ends up in a match with Jungle Boy, you know, then they put on the fact that Jungle Boy is the son of Luke Perry. And then you got people hooked on that way that know Luke Perry from the early 90s with his show, Beverly Hills 90210 and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I don't know. Disservice might be the wrong word, but I get what he might be saying, because we've seen this with WWE and Brock Lesnar and John Cena, and when they bring back The Rock and they bring back The Undertaker, to get those people on, to get casual fans back into the product, but then they leave as soon as The Undertaker is gone. They leave as soon as The Rock goes to do another movie. They leave when Cena's doing another movie. They leave when Goldberg, you know, is done with his one match and lands on his head or whatever. So, you know, how good does that do to the product? But at the same time, this is a job for the wrestlers themselves to keep the fans invested that were brought in because of the casuals that came in to begin with. And WWE, I don't think is doing a good job at that right now.
No, WWE is doing. Honestly, to me, that's the biggest issue with WWE, and I say this all the time. The thing that really drives pro wrestling is emotional investment, giving
Yes.
people a reason to care about the wrestlers. So you want to see somebody win or you want to see somebody lose. So you're cheering for somebody, you're booing for somebody. It means you're invested in the match, you're invested in the characters, and it makes for a better atmosphere when you're at the shows live. If you watch back the episodes of Road to Fighter Fest, for example,
Yes.
you know, a 6-minute video is able to accomplish so much because you take a guy like Darby Allin. He talks about himself being 50% dead inside because of a car accident that happened with his uncle, and he lost faith in humanity and all this stuff. Joey Janela, he's setting the table for his match against Jon Moxley, describing it as like more or less he's the guy that's representing the struggle, the indie guys, the guys that haven't made millions, the guys that haven't made it to WWE. So now you have a reason to either cheer for somebody like Joey Janela, who's representing the indie scene, or you can cheer for Moxley, who's been the guy who's made millions, etc.
Right.
And then, take all of that into consideration. You look at some of the matches that WWE has presented for Stomping Ground. I mean, look at the match here. Strowman, Miz, Ricochet, Cesaro, Lashley.
That's
all talented.
right.
But you look at how poorly Strowman's been booked since his time on the main card. Miz, he's actually been pretty good. He definitely is good at promos and everything. But they don't give him like a championship run that would really give him that extra level of credibility. Ricochet, I love him. He's a great talent, but the problem with him is, again, they don't give you a reason to care about these guys.
Right.
Cesaro, same thing. Lashley, same thing. Lashley's a guy who has an MMA background. I don't think they ever talk about that. Like, they should be doing whatever they can to build up these guys' credibility so that way when they have matches, people can get behind them, cheer them, boo them, do whatever they can.
And what adds to that, and I'm sure you're going to go over this too, we have Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans. Again, for the Raw Women's Championship.
Yep.
Lacey Evans has not won a match since she lost to Becky Lynch. A singles match, I should say, because they won the tag team match between Lacey and Alexa and Becky and Bailey. So Lacey has not won, and she's in a championship match.
Yep.
How does that help credibility with the rest of the women who aren't even getting put on TV, that you don't even need to win to get a title shot?
Right. And it's just, you look at the list of the matches for Stomping Ground, and it's just match after match. It's like, I don't care about any of those.
Yeah.
Because you can't get behind anybody because they don't give you a reason. Like, they're not giving you a reason to care about these characters.
Right.
And that's why people aren't watching.
Now, usually, the last episode before a pay-per-view, we usually do our predictions. And because of the matches here, I think it would be a disservice to our audience to not do them because, honestly, I'm not invested in this card. If you guys want to see us do a prediction show for Stomping Grounds, let us know in the comments. If we get enough comments and enough likes on this, we will do one. But at this point, I think the card as it is right now is not worth doing it because you have Rollins and Corbin, Kofi and Dolph, Lynch and Lacey, Roman and Drew. Those are all rematches that we've just seen. And Bailey and Alexa is also a rematch that we've seen. So we've already seen all these matches.
Yeah.
So why invest in it when we can, focus on things that people would want to talk about? So again, let us know in the comments on that. So final thoughts on all this that happens here. We have, as of this recording, Stomping Grounds hasn't sold out.
Yep.
Plenty of tickets still available. Do they get even close to a sellout by Sunday?
No, because like you said, it's all rematches. None of the matches feel special. Certainly nothing is, can't miss TV or you cannot miss this. Like, when I think about AEW and I think about Moxley and Omega, I'm like, I need to see that match.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot miss that match. I need to see Double or Nothing. I need to see All Out. When I think about Stomping Grounds, I feel like I've seen all these matches on an episode of Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've seen them all on SmackDown. They're all talented. I'm not taking anything away from these guys, but WWE has just not given me a reason to care about any of these matches or any of these characters. And I think most people would probably agree with that. And that's why, they won't come close to selling out. No.
All right, then that is all that we'll talk about today in our news roundup here for the Squared Circle Psychobabble. Make sure you comment below. Share this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. Subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers before All Elite Wrestling's All Out. For Ralph Valenti, my name is Michael Valenti, and thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.